call this a meeting of the Harris Township Board of Supervisors to order for August 14th, 2023. Would you please rise while we say the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first tonight we have a couple of public hearings. The first public hearing is on proposed ordinance 361, amending chapter 8 entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic. Do you want to read that or you want me to read it? Todd, do you want to read that or you want me to read that?
That's Peter's ordinance, but I'll read it if you want.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I don't have it.
Proposed ordinance 361 amends Chapter 8 Motor Vehicles and Traffic to add a section to the ordinance prohibiting overnight parking in various parks in the township. The ordinance proposed that overnight parking between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. is prohibited in the following locations: Blue Spring Park, Stan Yoder Memorial Preserve, Kaywood Park, Fasick Memorial Park, Nittany View Park, Hess Softball Complex, and Harpster Park. Vehicles or trailers parked in violation of this ordinance for a consecutive period of 2 or more days may be towed. The owner of the vehicle or trailer in violation shall be responsible for all costs of towing and storage. These parking restrictions would be waived whenever the township declares a snow emergency.
Okay, do I have any public comments on that ordinance? Hearing none.
Move the week.
I have a motion to close this meeting.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, we will discuss that later in the agenda. The other proposed ordinance is ordinance 362, which is a zoning ordinance amendment. Is that yours?
I will read that unless Peter wants to.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. Proposed ordinance 362 amends the zoning ordinance to allow certain grade level structures some relief from side and rear yard building setback requirements. During the discussions, it was suggested that perhaps the request should be expanded to include some structures that were minimally above grade, such as decks in the amendment. The amendment will be placed in the use regulation sections of Chapter 12 near the beginning of the section. 12-2.4.A.1d describes a similar building setback reduction for small accessory buildings such as storage sheds and firewood shelters that are 144 square feet in area or smaller in any zoning district. Such buildings may be placed as close as 6 feet to side and rear property lines. An amendment for grade level and near grade level structures to have a 50% reduction in the side and rear building setbacks is likely most appropriately added as E in this section, with wording the same or similar to the draft amendment that you had reviewed at a previous meeting. Swimming pools and associated decks and concrete aprons are currently allowed as close as 20 feet to the rear property line in any zoning district, which is less than the rear setback in all zoning districts except the village. This draft regulation includes a statement that the additional reduction in building setbacks will not apply to swimming pools and their accessory decks and patios, in large part due to the safety concerns related to swimming pools generally.
All right, do I have any public comments on that ordinance? I hear none, and I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is passed. Okay. Next, we'll go into our regular agenda. First on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from July 10th, 2023 in public hearing and the July 10th, 2023 regular meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the motion? You have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Any additions, subtractions, alterations to the minutes? Corrections. Hearing none. All those in favor of passing the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any objections? Hearing none. Motion passes. Okay, next on the agenda is citizens' comments. Members of the public are invited to comment on any item not on the agenda, and 5 minutes per person time limit, please. Comments related to specific items on the agenda should be deferred until that point in the meeting. I know we have a couple here tonight, so I don't know who wants to go first, but we're waiting for, do you want to go ahead? Come on up to the microphone, state your name and what you're going to discuss.
Good evening, and thanks for the opportunity to comment. I'm Harvey Manbeck, a property owner at 912 Anna Street in Bowlesburg since 1985. And my purpose for being here is to urge Harris Township to develop, approve, and construct a roadway stormwater remediation plan on the west side of Anna Street to prevent Anna Street road runoff from entering my driveway and partially flowing into my neighbor's property at 149 Bell Avenue. Currently, as described more fully in a letter to Mr. Peter Marshall on August 3rd, Anna Street roadway runoff from the north of my property at 912 Anna Street is directed away from the roadway, drainage way, at an almost 45-degree angle towards the south central side of my driveway. There it has to pool and make two 90-degree turns before resuming flow into the regular roadway drainage ditch south of my driveway. Consequently, much of the roadway runoff water flows into my lawn, then flows through my lawn and onto the Roells property at 149 Bell Avenue. The owners of that property have experienced two severe basement floodings this summer alone as a consequence of the poor roadway drainage pattern installed in 2019. These roadway runoff problems did not exist prior to the 2019 repaving of Anna Street. I expressed my dissatisfaction with the current invasive drainage pattern into my driveway to engineer Jerry Northridge at that time in 2019. And we decided then to observe and see if it indeed is going to be a problem. We, the Roells, and I have taken temporary measures to minimize future flooding, but seek a more satisfactory, permanent solution. Specifically, I think, I'm an engineer, I'm not a road engineer, but I am an engineer. I think the most satisfactory solution is to, number one, install a drop inlet at the northwest corner of my drive in the path of the roadway drainage swale. Number two, run a drainage pipe from this drop inlet from the northwest corner of 912 Anna Street down to the stormwater inlet at the northwest corner of Bell and Anna Street. Then install riprap above the drainage way from the southwest corner of the 912 Anna Street driveway down to the corner of Anna and Bell. Interestingly, this proposed solution, with the exception of the drop inlet, is almost exactly what the township did to control roadway drainage on the east side of Anna Street several years ago. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to stand for them.
We can talk to that.
Okay, but you did get a letter, right? You did send Peter a letter.
No, what he's saying, with the exception of the correction, which I don't think we would propose that, but he's absolutely right. I mean, everything that was said is correct.
Okay. And we will look into that.
Thank you very much.
We could talk about it. The engineer's here.
Jared, you want to say anything on that? You're here.
I will say that going back 3 years, we have observed this. We have watched what's happening there. The storm we got in July was unprecedented in how it jumped that curb, went down that lawn, and did some work. So since then, there's been some remediation. I'd like to have a conversation with Mr. Marshall, with the supervisors, to lay out the alternatives, the costs related to those alternatives, relay some of the discussions we've had with Attorney Finelli this afternoon, just so everybody's on the same page. But I do think that there are mitigation measures that the township could take to further prevent damage to public property, not just Mr. Manbeck's, but the downstream neighbors, and to improve that situation. Whether that's a $2,000 or $3,000 fix or a $7,000 fix or a $25,000 fix, obviously there's a return on investment for the more that occurs. However, there's also real money applied. So I do think this is worth your time to investigate what's going on. If you have not read Mr. Manbeck's letter that he provided, I would encourage you to do so. And then I would like to get together and get real solutions and funds applied to a community repair, not just a single property.
Okay.
Are there any questions for me?
Does this come out of that MS4 at all? Stormwater management?
It's not directly related. It's when we repaved Anna Street, in order to have a smooth grade on the driveway to get up to Anna Street, because the garage is below Anna Street, we brought the grade, the ramp, for lack of a better term, further back into his driveway. So as the water comes down Anna Street, it follows the edge of that ramp. So where it was closer to the road, now it comes back a little bit. It pools to get back out to the road again. So it's not an ideal situation. R.C. Bowman at the time spent a great deal of time with Levels, working through to get this as best they could. They came back and did some curbing. One of our alternatives is to add potentially additional curbing to redirect this water and keep it from jumping that area. The downstream neighbor, Miss Roel, she's not here tonight, but she has also sent a letter that I would encourage you to read. And she's done quite a bit of work of her own accord trying to mitigate this problem. So this is a question where two very willing neighbors have done a great deal on their own. And as a township, I think we can go a step further in helping to prevent some recurring issues that are at that intersection.
So this doesn't technically fall in any stormwater management program or anything like that? You can't cause other people to flood and that type of thing?
Yeah, and this is one of those where there's no return on investment to the MS4 program. I guess I took the MS4 question as, is there credits available?
Well, no, I'm curious, but you are not, okay, we'll let you investigate it.
We handle roadside drainage.
You know water flows downhill, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
right, you can't push a rope.
In this case, the water flows downhill, but it's not the straightest path.
Right.
It's a path of least resistance that meanders about in a sometimes unproductive way. So we don't want icing in the driveway. We don't want excessive ponding in the driveway. We don't want to jump the curb or bypass the curb to hit a neighbor's house. It's a function of space, grade. We've brought driveway contractors out to look at this and gotten their opinions on this. So we've collected our information. I believe we've done our due diligence. Now we need to apply pen to paper and budget to get a solution.
Well, we certainly don't want something we've done previously. We don't want that to cause a problem. If that's the case, we have to take care of it. Yeah.
Understood.
Okay.
Mr. Manbeck, you had something else you wanted to say? Yes, please do the microphone.
If I may, very briefly comment, I'm only doing this because I heard the subject of curbing, and Jerry and I have talked about the possibility of putting curbing on the south side. But my problem with that is I don't think that is alone going to solve the problem, curbing, because I think you're going to be swapping one set of problems for another. I think curbing will cause more pooling than the potential for flooding my garage and my basement, rather than my neighbor's basement, which is being flooded today. So just think about that before.
Well, I think if I'm hearing this correct, go ahead, you're good. I think if I'm hearing this correct, that you need to come up with a proposal to us, to present to us, or do you want to have a working session with us to go over it? What would you prefer there?
I think we'll scope 3 to 4 potential solutions, and then from there propose next steps forward. So.
And we will have that for our next meeting, or before?
You'll have it in enough time to review ahead of your next meeting. Yes.
Okay.
And let's make sure that we keep the impacted property owners
On-
aware of what we're looking at, rather than
Yeah.
tell them at the end of this process, here's the solution we're giving you.
Yeah, and maybe we can forward them the 3 solutions or 4, whatever he comes up with, that they can see them before we take action on them.
Yeah, there's no factual difference here. I mean, we agree that we need to do something, and we'll do it.
Okay.
Would you like to copy my comments for the record?
Sure.
Well,
Yeah, give them to Peter.
We'll
Peter will take
minutes.
care of that. Yeah,
Thank you.
We put public comments in the minutes usually. I don't really
I didn't.
remember that. I don't remember whether you do or not.
I don't either.
Okay.
The truth.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in and bringing that to our attention. The next one, I believe, is, or you're going to go first. Okay, go ahead. And okay, you're going to go together. Okay, just state your names.
Yeah, my name's Jim Myers. I live at 1125 Karen Street in Bollesburg. And I'm here with my neighbor, Bill Reininger, to talk about gypsy moth, or I guess it's called sponge moth now, sponge moth situation in our neighborhood, Kaywood. We attended the Shade Tree Commission meeting on Thursday, and I think we received a pretty good response there on what we had to say, and partially based on that meeting, we're here tonight. Bruce, of course, was at that meeting on Thursday. I understand that we're going to be on the agenda for next month. Is that correct? Or I'm not sure how we get on the agenda.
That's what we had suggested.
Okay. Is that going to come from the shade tree?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
But
Well, let me put it this way then. We're hoping to be on the agenda next month. And so, of course, tonight I'll keep my comments brief. But ultimately, we would like to ask the township to spray our development to prevent destruction of the trees. The trees really, I think, define our neighborhood, and of course, a lot of neighborhoods in Bollesburg, with the sign out front being a tree city. So next month, if it's on the agenda, I'd like to document the problem in a little more detail, if you're not already aware of the problem, and propose a township spray and the basis of that proposal and some details. According to DEP, just briefly here, a count of 250 egg masses per acre is not tolerable to the trees and will cause complete defoliation. So without action, many of the trees that define our neighborhood will be lost. Powhatan Township, you may or may not be aware of, conducted a very effective spray campaign this year of about 1,250 acres. Most of that was in a spray block. It was 3 separate spray blocks. One of them was an 800-acre spray block in Park Forest. Their website is really good, has a lot of information, can benchmark with them. I've also spoken with their public works director about their approach, and so I think a lot of what they've done are good lessons learned here. I realize Harris Township, as Bruce said, doesn't have Walmart and Lowe's and Home Depot in their tax base, but we're asking you to conduct the spraying in a spray block because it's the most environmentally friendly way to mitigate in a block. It's the most efficient way, and it's the most cost-effective way. And by the township doing it, it also provides a procurement mechanism to get it done that couldn't be otherwise accomplished. Greg Roth, who's also on the Shade Tree Commission, was also going to, I think, do some research into the matter. I've done quite a bit of research, contacted DEP, DCNR, the county foresters coming to my place to verify, the magnitude of the problem later this week. And so if you have any questions at this point, or if there's any other information you'd like me to bring next month, let me know.
What's the longevity of the life of that little gypsy moth?
So there's a whole life cycle, actually.
Is it going to fade off as we get into fall? Or?
No, it's more, they build up each year to a point where then the population collapses.
So
and
they're on an incline now.
Well, they seem to be, yeah. So we had quite a bit this year in terms of caterpillars, and then moths flying around, but the egg masses, and that's one of the things I can show you pictures, and I'm going to get verification from DCNR on that, on just the number of egg masses. I've never seen this many egg masses on trees. I've got pictures on my phone, and I can show you, but we can put them on a drive, and I can show you next month. But basically, quickly, their life cycle is they come out of these egg masses in May, and one caterpillar over its lifespan, they go through 5 stages of growth, from coming out in May till late June, they can devour as much as 11 square feet of foliage just from one caterpillar, and each egg mass has from 500 to 1,000 eggs in it. Then they go into, cocoon stage, come out in moths. Many of you may have seen moths flying out all over the place about 3-4 weeks ago, and now the egg masses are there, so they'll be there until the spring, and they're very hardy. Some people have been scraping them off. If you scrape them off, and they're on the ground, they're still viable. So the time to spray really is May. There's also so the time to contract with aerial sprayers is March. That's when they set up all their schedules. So there's 3 primary aerial sprayers that have been spraying in the area. I've contacted, I've talked to them, and tried to contact all 3. But there's kind of a long cycle. You've got, if you do a procurement, you've got that cycle too, and of course your budget. All those things come into play. So, but the target is to spray in May.
What's winter cold temperature do to them?
Not much. Yeah. Yeah, they survive all that. It's not like the woolly adalgit for the hemlock, gets below 0. Even those cold days at Christmas knocked that woolly adalgit out. There wasn't much woolly adalgit this year.
Yeah, we had
But-
a mild winter.
Well, no, it was those cold days that's what knocked them out. But the gypsy moths don't seem to care about cold days, warm winters, cold winters, whatever. They survive it. Those are hardy egg masses. So anything else that you'd like me to bring forward next month?
I would just like to ask Bruce, is this something for the shade tree to bring us a proposal? I mean, because they're the experts.
Yeah,
in
well, of course, the Shade Tree Commission's primary responsibility is for our street trees and
Right.
trees in our public right of way. But we've been working with Bartlett, and Bartlett can give us some good estimates. They're all over the place
Okay.
about what kind of acreage we're talking about, how many neighborhoods are potentially impacted. Obviously, if we're going to treat one neighborhood, we'd have
Right.
to treat all neighborhoods that are potentially impacted. And yes, we don't have the tax base that some other municipalities have.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I checked with the county, and the state isn't providing them any funding, so they're not doing it. I did check with Patton Township for the price, and she said it was very expensive and was gonna get back to me, but she never did get back to me.
The information I got, it was $58 an acre, 1,200 some acres, about $70,000. I don't know what kind of acreage we would have here in Harris Township. I would think it wouldn't be as much. I mean, Park Forest, like I said, is over 800 acres. But
80% of Harris Township is woods, trees.
yeah, it's
Yeah, but
Rothrock, yeah.
they will be treating that.
But what,
The state would treat that.
yeah, yes, that's right. The other thing about doing a survey, Patton Township hired an ecological service to do that. They did it in the fall, so that, again, for enough time to set up. So they hired an ecological service to do an egg mass count, and based on that is where they set up, how they set up their spray blocks. Again, a lot of that's on their website, but I also got some of that from their Public Works Director.
All right. Okay, well, thank you for that. And like I said, we're gonna have to do some homework on this, both cost and timeframes and whatnot. So either Shade Tree or staff or something, we're gonna have to come back with some ideas, numbers that we're gonna have to look at and see if it's something we can budget.
Yeah, and I've been doing research, and I'd be glad to be involved and help you and work on that with you, so.
Gotta get your number too, your telephone number.
Oh, yes, okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, any other citizens' comments? All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to new agenda items. This is an area of state recently passed Act 65, which requires the posting of agendas 24 hours before a meeting on the township website, and which only allows items to be added to an agenda after a vote of the Board of Supervisors. If the board has items they wish to add to the agenda, this would be time to discuss that. Are there any things that anybody wants to add to the agenda? Nothing other than-
No? We can have a discussion about it, nothing that we can vote on.
Okay, well, I would like to add something. and I thought you were gonna add it, so, but I'll add it. Brush collection. What are we gonna do with our
That's-
brushes here?
we don't need,
Well, we need to
that
discuss it.
doesn't have to be voted on. We're
I
not
know,
gonna
but
vote on it.
we're gonna put it on the agenda so we can talk about it.
We can discuss it without putting it on the agenda,
But-
because we're not gonna vote on it.
I know, but we're gonna put it on.
Okay.
And we will put that at the end.
Yeah.
Right after the resolution 23, was that the last one? Yeah. The resolution 2311, item J. After that, we will discuss the brush collection. So do I have a motion on adding that?
We can discuss it.
Do I have a motion to add that?
Sure.
Okay, so we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We will add that to the agenda. Okay, we're going to move on now to township business. First on the agenda is proposed ordinance 361, amending Chapter 8 entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic. Public hearing was held on this item earlier this evening. Proposed ordinance 361 amends Chapter 8 Motor Vehicles and Traffic to add a section to the ordinance prohibiting overnight parking in various parks in the township. The ordinance proposed that overnight parking between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. is prohibited at the following locations, which we heard earlier. Vehicles or trailers parked in violation of this ordinance for a consecutive period of 2 or more days may be towed. The owner of the vehicle or trailer in violation shall be responsible for all costs of towing and storage. And these parking regulations will be waived whenever a township declares a snow emergency. Recommendation, if the board is comfortable with this ordinance as presented, move to adopt proposal ordinance 361, amend Chapter 8 Motor Vehicle and Traffic to add a section of the ordinance prohibiting overnight parking in various parks in the township. Do I have a motion?
I'll move this forward, but with
Okay.
one question.
Okay, well, we'll get the motion, and you can have your question.
Second.
I have a second.
Well,
Okay,
the,
but we will discuss it. Okay, we have a motion and a second, so now let's open up for discussion. Bud, do you want to go
The
ahead?
Hess softball complex is not our park. That's a regional park, and they have their own rules.
Do we own the land?
No,
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 we don't own the land.
no.
Don't have
It
anything.
belongs to the region.
Okay.
Now, is this inconsistent with their rules?
I doubt that this is inconsistent. I don't know their rules, but
Okay.
everybody else has a prohibition against overnight
Well,
parking.
but that is not our park. It
Yeah,
belongs
okay,
to Center
I
Region.
didn't realize. I thought we still owned it.
And I notice sometimes their campers up there, if they have tournaments, they may not be more than 2 days, so I wonder if we want to eliminate.
You can eliminate it if you don't own it.
We don't own it.
Then I would suggest you eliminate it.
Okay, so I'll move this forward with the exception of Hess softball complex.
You seconded it, would you, or you seconded it, right? Would you?
I agree.
Okay, so we have an amended agreement there. Okay, Danny, you said.
Question, who, at the township level activates that? Todd and his code office, or who?
What was the question?
Who activates it?
Who at the township level activates the violation?
Well, you'd call the police department. There's a
We
parking
don't need to
issue.
go through a township manager or staff or anybody to?
It could. I don't think it's an ordinance. Whoever can enforce ordinances, which includes the manager, the zoning officer for zoning ordinance, and the police department
This
for
would be
parking.
similar to the snow ordinance with respect to activating it? Same procedure?
I would think so.
Okay. I didn't see that in here, I was just sort of wondering. Thank you.
Okay, the only comment I would have on that is that we better put signage up.
Oh, no, that has to be up.
Yeah, we need to put
Yeah,
signage
no.
up or it can't be
Oh,
enforced.
yeah, sure.
Okay, so you have that down as that.
Yeah.
Diane, I assume you want to answer a question or ask a question?
I want to ask a question, actually, too. What occurred before this meeting that related to this? Because I looked at all the agendas, and I didn't see anything other than the meeting that is at the, there was a reference made to discussion of,
You want to know how it came up? Is that?
well, how was I to know about it?
Well, the previous manager authorized a person to park their RV in one of the parks, and it was
Okay.
there for months.
Okay,
And it's not a good situation. And then we started getting calls from other RV owners saying,
Right.
well, I'd like to park my car, RV there also. So there needs to be some control.
okay, I just was a little surprised that I didn't, it wasn't in the agenda. Anyway, my question is a real simple one, and I'm sure you know the answer. When the parking lot out here is developed, okay, do you see that these times and these regulations will apply to that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions on this one? Hearing none, all those in favor of the amended motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any objected? Motion carries. Next, proposed ordinance 362, amend Chapter 12, Article 2.4, entitled Use Regulations. A public hearing was held on this item earlier this evening. Proposed ordinance 362 amends the zoning ordinance to allow certain grade level structures some relief from side and rear yard building setback requirements. During the discussion, it was suggested that perhaps the request should be expanded to include some structures that are minimally above grade, such as decks in the amendment. The amendment would be placed in the use regulations section of Chapter 12 near the beginning of the section 12-2.4.A.1.d. Describes a similar building setback reduction for small accessory buildings, storage sheds, fire shelters, etc., that are 144 square feet in area or smaller. In any zoning district, such buildings may be placed as close as 6 feet to the side and rear property lines. Amendment for grade level and near grade level reductions to have a 50% reduction in the side and rear building setbacks is likely most appropriate, added as E in this section with wording the same as or similar to the draft amendment. Swimming pools and associated deck concrete aprons are currently allowed as close as 20 feet to the rear of the property line in the zoning districts, which is less than the rear setback in all zoning districts except the village. This draft regulation includes a statement that the additional reduction in building setbacks would not apply to swimming pools and their accessory decks and patios, in large part due to the safety concerns relating to swimming pools generally. Recommendation, if the board is comfortable with the ordinance as presented, move to adopt proposed ordinance 362, Amendment 12, Article 2.4, entitled Use Regulations to reduce required side and rear setbacks for at-grade and near-grade structures. Do I have a motion for that?
Move to adopt ordinance 362.
I have a second. I have a second. I have a motion, a second. Any comments, questions, or discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next, road close and request to use the Bullsburg Fire Police. Happy Valley Women's Cycling is sponsoring the Bowl City Haunted Trail Run 5K on October 7th, 2023 from 9:30 a.m. till noon. Race organizers are requesting the closing of Old Bullsburg Road from 146 Old Bulls Road to Bowl Estate Drive and the use of the Bullsburg Fire Police for traffic control from 10:45 to 12:30 a.m. on October 7th, 2023. Recommendation, move to approve the closing of Old Bullsburg Road from 146 Old Bullsburg Road to Bowl Estate Drive and use the Bullsburg Fire Police for the Bowl City Haunted Trail Run 5K on October 7th, 2023 from 10:45 to 12:30 p.m. for the Bowl City Haunted Trail Run 5K race. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion, questions, or where we go? Go ahead, Denny.
I'm looking at the time slots mentioned, make sure they're consistent. The agenda has 9:30 to noon. And then in the motion, it has 10:45 to 12:30. Are we
That's good.
dealing with the same time frame on these things?
Well, I picked that up too. That was going to be a question I had. That is a good question.
I don't know. Let me see.
Frank,
Yes, go ahead.
Gordon Kaufman is on Zoom. He's one of the organizers. And I believe they might have changed the date from the 7th to the 8th. Gordon, can you unmute and answer those questions, please?
Yeah, thanks, Debbie. Hi, everybody. It's Gordon. Yeah, so the proposed date is October 8th, which is Sunday. And the timing would be from 10:30. The race will start at 11. So the road closure and the fire police will be needed from 10:30 a.m. until, 12:15 or 12:30. So I guess it was the latter of the two times you had suggested.
So we're scratching that 9:30 to noon time?
That's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
the race will start at 11, so our request would be from 10:30 to 12:30.
And you're switching days to the 8th rather than 7th?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's what's on this.
Okay.
This is on the,
I noticed there's a conflict, so.
it's on the blue paper.
Okay, so, I mean, having looked at the presentation here, I see the little blue police icon. I assume that's where we're gonna station our fire police. And am I correct in assuming you've worked with them on those locations?
Yeah, that's correct. Josh Cohn has spoken with the fire department and discussed that with them.
I'm good.
All right, well, we're in a little bit of a pickle now, because we've got to get rid of that motion and start a new one with the different times on it. So I will put the first motion up for vote.
Wait, what,
Well, you
In other words, we made the motion.
could ask for an amendment. Withdraw the motion.
this amendment to the, I made, who made the motion? Nigel?
Nigel,
Withdraw it.
here's withdrew it. You can withdraw your second? Good.
Yeah, I guess.
Now, let's get it, go ahead, you want to make a new motion?
Yeah, I will make the motion to be for Sunday the 8th and road closure from 10:30 to 12:30 and fire police same time, it sounds like.
Do I have a second?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments in addition?
On the agenda again, it says 10:45 to 12:30, and you just made it 10:30.
That's because that's what he asked for.
That's what he asked
That's
for.
what he just said on the Zoom.
Let's get our act together, somebody.
It's 10:30 to 12:30.
That's what he just
That's
requested on the
that's what
Zoom.
we're talking. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any proposed? Opposed. Did I say proposed? Opposed.
Opposed?
Hearing none, motion carries. Okay, State College Connector Pell Study Update. I have Lori Cole from JMT Incorporated and PennDOT representatives will be present to give a brief presentation on the State College Project Pell Study, and you should have a copy of the presentation in front of you. Go ahead, Lori, you're up.
Well, as you mentioned, my name is Lori Cole. I'm with JMT. We are the design team here representing PennDOT. I'd like to briefly introduce who's with me from PennDOT. I have Eric Berniak, who will be assuming the PM role for the project from Dean Ball upon his retirement. I also have Lee Woolrich, who is going to be supporting Eric, also from PennDOT, and I have Kevin James from Michael Baker International, who is helping PennDOT on the management side. So as soon as this pops up, we can go ahead and start the show.
Something's supposed to happen here.
It's coming. It might take 15 minutes, but it's coming.
Debbie, you go to the next, if you want to start the presentation and go to the next slide, that would be fine.
Am I doing this?
I think Deb's.
I think Debbie has it. Maybe not?
Use your mouse. Or don't they have that?
Is that you?
Press it toward the.
If you pop up the slideshow there at the top.
Bruce, are you sharing this or is Deb?
I have no idea. I see two.
There we go.
I didn't show a thing.
So the three things we want to talk about tonight on our agenda is to just give you an update of where we are with the planning and environmental linkage report, and then talk about the recommended alternatives to advance for NEPA, and then we'll talk briefly about the NEPA process and the next steps that we're going to work through. If you want to go to the next slide, Debbie. So just to refresh your memory, a draft Pell was released to the public back in February of this year. We had a 30-day, a little over 30-day comment period, and we received in total 46 comment letters and or emails. Next slide, please. I wanted to give you kind of an overview of the comments and things we heard during that comment period. And this is a high-level summary. So a lot of the commenters provided a preference and what their preferred alternative was. We also heard a lot of pros and cons for the PA 45 connector. And just to refresh your memory, that was the connection between the proposed interchange on the US 322 corridor connecting up to PA 45, basically a local road connection. We heard a lot of different concerns for various resources, and I have them listed here. Obviously, the farming community had a lot of comments and concerns with the agricultural properties in the area. We heard a lot of comments about wetlands and waters of the U.S., protecting them. We heard some comments about the sinkholes and the geology of the area. Also a lot about the threatened and endangered species and species in general living within the area. Community and right-of-way, that would include the residential relocations, business relocations. Historic resources, with this being part of the Penns Valley, Brush Valley Rural Historic District. We heard about air quality, greenhouse gas, and a lot of questions and concerns about noise, making sure we watch out for doing a noise analysis. And then we also had a lot of people thinking ahead to things that we should consider in the future. And a lot of those were, how are we going to mitigate and make sure on the impacts that we do have, we come up with appropriate mitigation for those resources. We also heard about multimodal connections to the build alternative, whatever that may be, including bicycle and pedestrian amenities, accommodating transit where it's necessary. We also heard about continuing the level of community engagement. We've had a lot of public meetings, we've had the website. People want to make sure that information keeps flowing as we move into the next phase. And then people are also talking about stormwater, which we've had a little discussion about tonight, making sure that any proposed facility accommodates the stormwater in the future. Next slide, please. And I wanted to remind you this evening, the Pell, the draft Pell and the final Pell have the same recommendation on alternatives. We are looking to advance the US 322 OEX, the US 322 South, and the US 322 5 corridors. As you recall, all three corridors start in Potter's Mills Gap. The OEX one, for about 2.5 miles roughly, it stays basically on the existing alignment. It deviates to the north in the middle and then comes back on alignment heading into Boalsburg. The US 322 1S, it starts at Potter's Mills Gap. It comes south almost immediately of US 322, shifts back north to US 322, and then again comes and meets on existing alignment into Boalsburg. And US 322 5, again, starts at Potter's Mills Gap, almost immediately south. It transcends south of 322, stays south of 322 until it connects back up to US 322 on alignment heading into the Boalsburg area. Next slide, please. So now that we have these three corridors, we're moving into the NEPA process. And so we want to tell you briefly kind of what that means. Ooh. Can you go back to 6, please? Thank you. So what you see here, we've talked at length about the NEPA process is just that, is a process that we have to follow step by step to be legal with the acts and the rules of the law. So to do that, we've developed this 10-step process, if you will. The first phase that you see here on the arrow is initiate field studies, conduct traffic analysis, and develop the engineering. That's what we're doing right now. We've actually started that right now. We have field crews out in the fields interviewing farmers, looking at wetlands, looking at geology, threatened and endangered species. We're doing all that work now. From a traffic perspective, we've done some additional traffic counts. We're updating the traffic model. And we're running various scenarios with interchanges to see how the local network would respond. And at the same time, we're working on developing the engineering. During the Pell study, we just had these large corridors. Now we're actually starting to put pen to paper and come up with actual alignments. And we're doing this in tandem with the environmental folks so that we avoid key resources as we move forward. We're also, the next step is we had a purpose and need in the Pell. We're not going to change that purpose and need. We're going to refine it for the smaller study area. Step 3 says publish the NOI. The NOI stands for the Notice of Intent to Prepare an EIS. That's the Environmental Impact Statement. That's the large document at the end of the day that'll make all the recommendations, identify the mitigation, and everything. To publish the NOI is the first of the legal step to creating this environmental study. 4 is to continue the field operations, design, analysis, and engineering. And you see there, we have a proposed public meeting at that point. That time frame we'll talk about in a minute. We're also going to be developing conceptual mitigation. As you saw, public comment, that is also a requirement by law to mitigate any of your impacts. 6 is to identify a recommended preferred alternative. We want to have that in the draft EIS so that the public is aware as early as possible as what we're proposing to do. Step 7 is to circulate that draft environmental impact statement. We will then hold a hearing on the impact statement and the information in that. Step 9, after we hold the public hearing, we'll develop what we're calling the final environmental impact statement and record of decision. And what that is the final results of the entire study along with Federal Highways approval to move the project forward. That's the record of decision. Federal Highways approval to move forward. And that would be with the selected alternative. And then last but not least, we would also circulate that final environmental impact statement and record of decision. Next slide, please. So I know this is kind of hard to see. I know you guys have it on paper, but this is a high-level schedule of where we are and what we're doing. The one line you can barely see. The first line is talking about traffic. You see we've started that. We're proposing to go through the middle of next year to finalize all of that. And the reason those take so long is when we have the public meeting, we anticipate getting comments that we'll have to go back and do some changes and whatnot. Same with the engineering design and the environmental phase. As I mentioned, it's ongoing, same scenario. There could be something that comes up at the public meeting, but there's also a lot of agency coordination that we have to do throughout, not only just the DEIS, but right into the FEIS as well. Then we have the impact statement coming out in 2026, early 2026. And then the final, early 2025, I can't even read that. And then 2026 would be the final. The whole project would end mid-2026 with the record of decision. The first public meeting, which would be the first time that the public would see the new impacts, the refined corridors into alignments, would be we're looking at spring, late spring, early summer of next year. In 2020, at the end of 2024, the beginning of 2025 is when we would go back out to the public with a kind of our preliminary recommendations, and then the document would be prepared and circulated after that. And that is my last official slide. I'm happy to take, myself or any of us are happy to take questions or comments.
Go ahead, Bud.
You're not going to make a decision until first quarter of 2025? We won't know what the route is?
That, right now, that's how that's slated. We're working to try and get that into end of 2024. But as of right now, a lot of that depends on what happens after the May or the spring meetings, how much rework we have to do on corridors.
What you were supposed to tell us this spring, this fall? What's going to be?
We had some delays.
What's changed?
The Pell got a little bit longer than we had anticipated.
But have things changed?
Pardon?
Have things changed? What I don't understand what got longer than you anticipated.
Well, part of the delay has been in the NOI. There's a period that we're still working through, and we can't do much work until we get that published, because that is the legal. We can do so much, but we can't go too far. And that we're not going to have for probably till spring, early spring.
So, okay, so we're going to set until it'll be the first quarter of 2025 before we'll know what route you're gonna go.
We're working to push that into the end of 2024.
Well, the first quarter, okay.
Yes. As of right now, yes. Our conservative estimate.
Was something happened? They delayed it or what? I mean, I don't quite understand what you're talking about. The Pell didn't come out, this didn't happen, what?
Well, we had a little bit of delay in the Pell, getting the final Pell approved. We had hoped to have it done back in June.
Who was in charge of that?
Well, it's just the agency coordination.
So I'm not getting an answer from you, am I?
Well, that is the answer. I mean, we did have.
The answer is you don't get agency coordination.
Well, we have to go through the process to get the
And
agency
agencies are
coordination.
coordinating with you? Is it working with you?
Yes, no, they are. We are.
But they're slow.
I don't want to say that they are slow, but we are working toward getting that done. But we also have to go through and do all of the field work, and we are working through that. We're about probably 50% done on some of the field work, and now we're going to start the engineering. We have some workshops that we're looking to schedule to come up with interchange scenarios, final interchange scenarios, and local road connections, and then the engineering has to be done on those. But if we have, if we come up with these alignments and we go out in the spring and we get very little change to the alternatives, the schedule can advance faster.
I don't know where to begin.
Okay?
Your resource page, you look at the resources, future consideration, there's one very important part missing. People.
Resource.
You don't talk about the impact on the quality of life in any of those resources.
That is just a summary of what the public meetings, and the community one covers all of that.
That's fine, but it should be here. You can't talk about agriculture. You can talk about agriculture, but you're talking about the farmer. You're talking about historic resources. Those are people resources owned by somebody.
Those will all be evaluated.
You're skipping the same beat I've been talking about for over a year. The people part of this is missing.
Well,
That's all, Frank.
yeah, we are considering the people. We are considering the impact on the quality. That's all being handled under community and right of way.
Then put them in here. Put people in here.
Community and right of way are here.
This is the information that we got from the people. I mean, these are the things.
I know, but the impact of the vote on the people, not the people that submitted the 47 letters, the impact on the vote on people.
And we will look at that.
The owners of the property.
Right. We are considering that as we move forward.
Put them in here. That's all I have to
Peter,
say.
you said you had
That's covered under
something.
community and right of way. I mean, that is people. We can add the word people there, but that's essentially what it is.
Put it in.
Will do.
Peter has something.
Yeah, the planner and I sent the official plan for the township to you folks with the request that you seriously look at providing dedicated bicycle pedestrian routes, at least to Calder Lake. Is that something that will be considered?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we did get some additional public comments at looking at providing the multimodal, and yes, we will look at that to the extent that we can. I can't sit here and guarantee you we're going to get clear to Calder Lake, but we are going to look at that.
Okay.
Anything else, Peter?
No.
Nigel, do you have anything you want to ask him? Okay. Bruce?
At what stage in this process do we know what kind of footprint this road is going to have? Are we going to be talking, so we're going to learn that we're talking about a large divided highway, huge median, sweeping interchanges versus, 4 lanes, simple median divider, alternative left-hand turn options?
No, we've already decided that. That was part of the Pell process. The proposed alternative moving forward that I talked about is a 4-lane divided highway with interchange access only. There will be no local access like a driveway or a local road connection to this facility. So when you'll first see the footprint of the quote-unquote alignment versus a corridor will be in the spring public meeting. I'm sure we'll coordinate with the township ahead of time on that before you go to actual public meeting. But that it'd be the first time that you would see the official corridor change to an alignment.
Anybody
Bring your
else?
flak jackets.
Anybody else have anything?
But I don't know.
All right, well, I was gonna say, I have a couple. Number one, I from the beginning here, I'm still concerned, when you do the new traffic studies, and you're doing right now, are you traffic studying 192 and 45, or have you completely eliminated them from this total process? Because I think Route 45 is still just as dangerous, if not more dangerous than Route 322. Is the new traffic studies going to include that might preclude us, we need to do something to that route?
So and Kevin, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the traffic studies that we are doing, we are looking at 45 and how a proposed facility would impact the no-build 45 to a build 45. At this point in time, the district is not doing like a safety study as of yet on 45 by itself.
Okay.
So we are looking at it from the perspective of the corridor.
All right, and then the one thing to keep in mind too also is that Route 45 is primarily internal traffic. It's coming up the valley. That traffic's going to be there no matter what we do to 322. So let's make sure we understand that when we're putting this all together, because I think that if we do this and we don't pay attention to that road, we're going to be back in a couple of years doing another one the same way. So I would highly recommend that you stay on that, and I'd like us to be updated on what's happening with Route 45 and stay not just on the 322. And I've said this all along, that no matter how they do this or where it comes, somebody's not going to be happy.
Right.
And I think that's coming sooner than later. So.
And on the 45 study, again, for that to be an independent project, we need to get it going through the MPO. So I know.
Already put it in the.
Okay, then perfect.
But still, that needs to be looked at through this. Did you have something else to add? Nope. Okay. Go ahead.
Are all three of these limited access, all three?
Yes.
All three options?
Yes.
And if you use the 10X, it's existing 322, and you're going to make that limited?
It would be on top of, so the limited access portion, the OEX for that 2+ miles would be on top of the existing corridor, but local access would be adjacent to it. We can't just cut off access there. We have to provide access within our footprint. So imagine a highway with a roadway next to it.
And that's all part of the stuff that we can start.
Oh, so it'll be a highway with a roadway next to it?
Yes. We might have to just shift it over a little bit.
So you physically won't be using the original 322?
No, we would be
That
rebuilding.
was a little confusion what someone would ask. I said, well, I
Yeah,
don't know
same
that.
thing on the Bollesburg side. So we would be on top of the existing US 322, but there would be local access.
That road would still be a road, but it would be the new
Correct.
connector road.
Correct.
Yeah.
When we met with the township back in March, and we went through some of those stick figure maps, and we talked about that, we kind of showed you kind of a quasi rendering of what it might look like. So you're going to have the 4-lane, limited access facility would be new. Existing 322 or some local will turn into kind of more of a local access road. They'll have a lot less traffic on it.
But it will be right
beside.
beside the original, that first part, right beside 322, right?
Essentially, yes.
You're looking there, yeah, okay.
Yes. There'll be some space between the two, but it will essentially be right next to it.
Anybody else have anything they want to ask?
No, we don't know yet. We'll find out in 2025.
Well, thank you for coming, and thanks for the information, and we'll stay
Well, thank you
up
for
to
the
date.
opportunity.
All right, thank you.
I thought we'd know, I was excited, thought we'd know by now.
That's over here. All right. Okay, next on the agenda is Meadowlark Lane street closing. The residents of Bear Meadows Village has requested a street closure in front of 221 Meadowlark Lane for a block party on August 19th, 2023, between the hours of 12 p.m. and 9 p.m. And I have a motion to approve the closing of Meadowlark Lane for a block party on August 19th, 2023, from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments, discussions?
Sounds like a good time.
It sounds like it's going to be a good party, 9 hours.
I think my comment when I was mentioning this, that by us approving it means we automatically are invited.
I can ask Mike King, I'll ask Mike. Yeah. Okay, hearing nothing, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passed. Okay, arborist services. The township engineer recently needed a professional opinion from an arborist. We sought and received assistance from the State College Borough arborist, Lance King. The borough is willing to enter into an annual agreement that will allow the township to request the services of an arborist, when the need arises. The cost would be $76.06 an hour. The agreement would provide the township the opportunity to use up to 50 hours of consulting or diagnostic service. Okay, we have a motion.
Tell me it won't go any higher than $76.
Do I have a motion on this so we can discuss it?
I move it.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second? Yeah. Any comments? Yeah, go ahead, Denny.
Does this include work similar to what Bill Emlendorf has done for the tree commission? Or is this more technical? Well. Or is Bill still around? Bill is still around. Bill will be retiring at the end of the calendar year. So I think this is someone that will be able to get here rapidly or immediately. Okay. And I'll add that it has an advantage as opposed to hiring an arborist or consulting an arborist with one of the tree companies around town. This person will be an independent, doesn't have a dog in the fight, isn't trying to work up business for his company. It's much like a dog warden,
Sure.
whatever we call that.
Sure, yeah.
Good.
What? But don't forget the dog warden thing. But
No, I mean, but there's no
I know.
ordinance involved. There's no, we're just using his services.
Right.
Yeah, if we
Yeah.
want to. You have to have it.
Okay. Anybody? Nigel, anything from you down there? Anything on this?
No.
Denny, anything?
No, I take it.
Okay, I only have one question, and it's more of a procedural question. Has the Shade Tree Commission seen this, and have they said okay to this?
As far as I know, no.
Well, that's usually if it's
You never
planning
have to
commission, we
use
send
it.
it to the planning commission.
You never have to use it.
I know we don't have to use it, I'm just asking if they have seen it.
Well, Shade Tree Commission, different job description, I think.
If they don't, I'm just asking procedurally, guys.
I think you should approve it.
Oh, I think so too. Although in Shade Tree Commission, there's probably at least one person on there that.
Well, I'm just asking, normally we get this kind of stuff, if it's something that involves zoning or whatever, we send it to the planning commission, have them talk about it and bring it back, and
You
then,
have to do that.
I
The law
understand that, but
requires
I'm just asking, this is for the shade tree, anybody?
As far as I
Does
know,
anybody else besides me see that? If no, we're gonna move on.
well, I think that it doesn't obligate us to anything. So
Otherwise-
it provides an option which the Shade Tree Commission can take advantage of. It doesn't obligate them. So we could put it off for another month, but I think we're going to do it now.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
Technical than what the tree commission does?
It has nothing to do with the Shade Tree Commission.
Well,
It has to do with the borough engineer, or township engineer, right?
well, no, it does. I mean, the Shade Tree Commission periodically sees one of our trees that they feel like they need to get an arborist out to take a look at it.
Well, then they could, who can authorize the Shade Tree Commissioner? Who says, okay, we're using?
Well, it obviously goes through township staff. The
Okay.
Shade Tree Commission doesn't write
Either
checks.
way, I would think, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm the only one that is concerned with that?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I just had the question, guys. Okay, the Pleasant Gap Fire Company requested assistance of the Bollesburg Fire Company for their parade on July 27th, 4:30 p.m. The request came following the July 10th meeting of the board. The board was polled via telephone to provide a vote for this request, and I believe this is a retro. So we want to move to retroly approve the assistance from the Bollesburg Fire Police on July 27th, 2022 for traffic control at the Pleasant Gap Fire Company Parade. All those in favor signify by, I got a motion. A second, do I have a second?
I better second it because I was there.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
I closed down
Motion
Keller
carries.
Street.
Good. Okay, we're getting down there. Request for fire police. Culbertson Financial Services is sponsoring a free shredding event to benefit Center Region Park and Recs on Wednesday, September 30th, 2023, from 12 noon to 4 p.m., unless the shredding truck fills up earlier, at the Oak Hall Regional Park. They are requesting assistance from the Boalsburg Fire Police from 11:30 a.m. to the end of the event. So do I have a motion to approve the use of the fire police?
I'll move that and I'll wait for a second.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
I have a comment about that.
Go
We
ahead.
probably will take a fire, last time we had a fire.
Okay.
The shredder truck caught on fire.
Well, that means it can stay longer. It can
So
stay longer.
I think it was necessary.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments on that?
No.
Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next is something we do every year, voting delegate for the Pennsylvania Municipal League Annual Summit. The township has been asked to designate a voting delegate and an alternative to the Resolutions Committee and the annual business meeting for the Pennsylvania Municipal League Annual Summit. The summit will be held October 5th and 6th in Bethlehem.
I move to appoint Mr. Graham as primary and Mr. Harden as...
I would like to do it just the opposite.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
I'm already on that,
Okay.
but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
So I have a motion.
You can do that? You're...
Yes, I can do that.
Second.
Oh, okay.
And I have a second. Any comments or questions?
Do I have to be there?
Well, if you're going to be
I might be there.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed?
We're gonna get stuck in the
And that is coming up, and if you're thinking of going, we need to get reservations in for that yet this month. So if you want to go to the PML, you should have gotten stuff in the mail. If you didn't, let me
Anybody
know.
wants to go to Bethlehem, let us know.
It's in Bethlehem if you want to go. So let us know so we can get reservations. Okay?
Well, you're to the borough.
All right.
We
Did
get
we vote on that?
a
Yeah, we voted. Okay, next. Resolution 2311, assigning a signatory for PennDOT ECMS and RAS, reimbursement agreement system. You want to read? I didn't know what this was. Well, I didn't, but
It just provides that you're the person.
okay, Resolution 2311 assigns a signatory from Harris Township for the PennDOT ECMS Engineering Construction Management System and Reimbursement Agreement Systems. This resolution is needed for the township to access their site for reimbursement for various PennDOT funded projects. Previously, former township Amy Farkas was a named signatory. PennDOT recommends just assigning chairman of the board of the supervisors, so this doesn't need to be changed whenever there is a staff change.
So we're always gonna have a chairman, in other words.
Yeah, we'll always have a chairman of whatever. So, I have a motion, or can
I move to approve Resolution 23-11, assigning the chairman of the Board of Supervisors as the signatory for the PennDOT ECMS system.
okay, and do I have a second? What?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second.
Somebody's turned down there.
Any questions or comments on it?
Somebody's turned down there.
Do you have a question, Denny?
Can you explain what it is?
Nobody knows.
It's just a requirement that I've never done it, so I'm talking off the top of my head. When you get a grant from PennDOT, you have to sign for it, you have to do whatever they require the recipients to do, and rather than have the manager, the idea of having the chair is really a better idea, because there's always a chair, as you said. No, that's not a good, it's perfunctory.
It's
Good
what?
word.
It's perfunctory.
It's what? Is that legal?
I know I did.
Is that
on
legal?
one.
That word explained it, Peter.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, next on the agenda is we're added the brush collection, and the reason this is here is because we have to start the process of doing some thinking, and Bud's right, it's mostly discussion tonight.
It's all
But
discussion.
Donnie was saying that since UAJA is not going to take our brush collection anymore, we've got to find another place for it. And one of the things he was talking about was having someplace in the township, which, you're looking, but he's talked to Brad Karsh.
I met,
Okay, go ahead.
Donnie and I met with Brad Karch, who was the spokesman for the owner group that is down there. And this is actually Donnie's suggestion that we be able to store the brush, because we have to store it well, before, then they come and get it. I don't know who comes and gets it. UAJ maybe, I don't know, no, UAJ doesn't come and get it.
No, they aren't coming.
UAJ has gone through a different way. They don't take our chips anymore because they're going with a new digester system or something to compost. So they don't need our brush chips anymore. But somebody else is going to take them. I'm not sure who gets contract. But we have to store them all. We don't chip them ourselves anymore at all. We store them, and we need to find a place to store them. Now, College Township is looking for a place over there to do that. But if we join it with them, it might cost us $14,000 or $15,000 a year for us to do that. So, in talking with Brad Karch, who is the owner of the piece of property adjacent to ours, right beside our, same side of the street.
Out by our maintenance building.
Right beside our maintenance building, yes. And he and Donnie and I met, and he's agreeable to that. We portioned off a certain piece of that to store brush in. We don't know exactly how much, but we're allowed to use it. And there will be a legal agreement whenever Brad and contacts. Well, this won't happen for, I think, for a year, because then we'll have to some sort of a legal agreement that holds him harmless, and then we'll clean it up if necessary. So that generally that's what we're working towards right now. So nothing's going to happen now probably until spring. Whenever we left it with Donnie would contact Brad, and then Brad would have his attorney some legalese thing, and it would be $1 a month or something like this. I offered to give him 6 months right on the spot, but he didn't want to do that. So.
What's become of the Hallbaker recycling center on the other side of town?
I don't know that. I don't know if they take that stuff. I don't know. No idea. Maybe that's where it goes.
They do, but we need a place to store it.
Well, we have to store it until it comes and chip it. Someone will come and chip it.
Let me get this in perspective. We're collecting it unchipped.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unchipped. So we're dumping it.
Yes.
Yes.
Store
As
it.
is.
Yes.
Yes.
And then in the future, someone comes and picks it up.
They chip it right there on site.
Either that,
Chip it on
they'll
site.
come with a big chipper, and they'll chip it all at once.
They may.
And then where does it go?
Don't know.
I'm not sure.
Where they want to take it.
Yeah, I think that's part of
Maybe
the
that's
fee for
Hallbaker.
doing it.
Well, I think I don't know the answer to that, but someone is going
Do
to
we
come and
then
get
give
it.
it away?
Could give it away, maybe.
It's still our property.
The tree, the
chips are.
the
The
chip.
chips are still ours.
That's
They
something we're
won't,
going to look
probably not once we give it to them, that probably won't be our
at.
property.
It could be part of the cost of
Landscape
doing the
people
chipping.
get chips.
I don't know what, I don't know what
I
the
don't know the
mechanism-
answer, but this is,
Who chips it?
whoever comes to
You
pick it up.
pay to have
you-
someone
you-
come and chip it.
No, we won't
Pay for
pay.
it.
We won't pay. Someone will come and chip it for us. Either, I'm not quite, I don't even know if they worked it out yet or not, but.
Well, that's the thing. What I wanted to do is get this ball rolling tonight.
Yeah, it's nothing,
It's something we gotta look at,
nothing
'cause-
needed done tonight, just the fact that Donnie will contact Brad, or Brad will contact Donnie, and they will work out an agreement. They will say that we need this much, and when it starts, and Brad's lawyer will make some sort of paper that says, okay, we can use
We
that.
got the ball rolling, but I think we got a flat tire here somewhere.
Well, here's the other thing though, that when I talked to Donnie about it,
I wouldn't bring
is
that
the
up.
other
I
thing
wouldn't
he
bring
said,
that up.
just stop.
I'm telling you.
It doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
Is what happened, they're gonna continue to develop that property and hope to sell it someday. So-
That's under executive session.
Now, just stop.
I don't think you should be talking about that.
I
Frank.
just stop,
I'm
bud.
telling you.
So basically, we would have that material on there, but if he sells that property, we would lose rights to that because of, it wouldn't be there anymore. One of the things that was talked about was, do we want to buy an acre or 2 acres of that property? And that's something, again, that we could throw on the table, whether we do or not, that's down the road. But there's several things we can start looking at for this, but it is something, I think Donnie was right to bring it out, so that we could have a little discussion on it, because it's something we're going to have to deal with in
Well,
the future.
this should be an executive
You
session,
mentioned
but we
College
started
Township
this.
as the variable partner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
I don't know that. I'm going with what I heard from Donnie just
This
right now
should
that
be
we have to
under
find something.
executive, because
But
it has to do with
stop.
Do
purchasing.
you have any background on the College
Let
Township?
me say
involved
something
in
here. This should be under executive session, because it has to do with purchasing of land. They are willing to subdivide that if they wanted to.
Karch is.
And Karch is, and we could purchase part of that.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
not something we're doing. That's not, we're not deciding
No,
it.
but that's okay, that's okay.
Anyway, so that's kind of what I wanted to bring up so that you can start thinking about it. We're gonna have to do some research on it, but it is something that we do need to address going forward before next spring. Okay?
This has nothing to do with the new truck we're getting
No.
to use for picking up brush.
No.
No, that truck is, I mean, the picker, the thing we bought to haul the trailer, haul the,
No, we ordered a new truck with a body on it to put brush in.
yes.
This has nothing to do with that.
Yes, that's why, we're not chipping it anymore. We're picking it up raw, taking it down there and storing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a good discussion. Let's move on. Did you have anything you wanted to say on that?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Next up on the agenda is approval of the vouchers. Do I have a motion to approve the vouchers?
So moved.
So moved. I have a second.
You want a value on that too, sir?
I can, yes, sure, go ahead.
$271,311.78.
So I have a second.
Second.
Any questions or
I have
comments?
a question.
Go ahead.
Did we actually write a check for 66 cents?
I don't know.
Best line
can't
equipment,
answer.
pole saw
Saw
rope,
rope.
66 cents.
That doesn't make
Check
sense.
number
Jeez, I
1677.
guess we did.
That cost us probably $15 to write that check.
25.
$25 to write that check. Did anybody have 66 cents on them?
I don't know, I didn't see that.
Well,
That's ridiculous.
Well, but there's another check for $4.50. I wonder if we should look at this. It cost us more than that to write the check. A stamp is more than 66 cents, isn't it? It cost us more than a rope. I mean,
I'll look into it.
okay. That's my question, comment.
Anything else?
We don't have a out-of-pocket cash ability, do
Petty
we, Peter?
cash.
I don't think so. I don't know
You're
that.
talking about petty cash?
Yeah. We use it?
I've never used it, so I'm not
I
sure.
don't think we do.
Where would it be?
I don't think,
Coffee can under
I don't
Deb's
think,
desk.
I don't think
It's
we
in the
do.
coffee fund.
Hey
I don't
Deb,
think
where's
we
the,
did.
where's the petty cash at?
Okay. It may be worth looking
No,
at.
I would use
Not
my
talking.
credit card and get
Oh, yeah.
reimbursed. I think that's how it happens.
Yes, put it on your expense account. Okay, any other questions or comments on this? Hearing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next, well, we want Peter, does anybody have any question on Peter's MIMS?
No.
No, okay.
I like the way
Very
you,
informative,
I
very
appreciate those, Peter.
Good, I'm glad you find that, yeah.
All right, let's move on to committee reports. Number 7, Executive Committee. Okay, we had our Executive Committee, and we talked about the hiring purview of the COG agency and how that went. We approved trick or treat night. Mostly everything we did was on the, on what we did in the last COG meeting. Really nothing come out of this one except for just a lot of discussion about, you know, the one thing there was some significant was the classification and compensation study. And it was more that the concept of it, not, you know, bringing everybody up to the same level all at once, you know, and performance and, you know, that's a hard thing because not only do you kind of alienate older employees a lot of times by doing that, or you go up so high, it really puts a lot of money out. But we talked about that at General Forum, so I'm not going to move anything else on that. Second, the Facilities Committee. We met finally, and I was a little frustrated. We had the presentation that we've had 3 times now, so I saw the same presentation. And we went through everything, and you know, we need numbers, guys. We need to start putting this stuff together. It's all there. And every time I would say something, I said, maybe the new members haven't seen the assessments. Oh, it's on that cloud thing somewhere. They should go look at it. I'm like, wait a minute, you know.
It's outdated, but it's there.
Yeah, I know. And then we talked about the maintenance and custodial services. And of course, everybody had to have their own thing. Well, we like to do it our way. Well, we like this. Well, we do this. Well, this is different here. And then I finally said, how much is it costing us? What's the total number for custodial? Well, again, it's on the budget. So my next question to Eric was, okay, we're all going to get detailed budgets in, correct? So we can see this stuff? well, and, you know, and it went on. So again, it's like you can't even look at things. And I've said this. This doesn't mean we're going to change. We want to look at, you know, how much we're paying, and is it something that we should look at bringing it in-house or keep it the way it is or whatever. But we can't even get the numbers to have a serious discussion on it. So I think as you guys are in your committee, and the point I'm bringing up here is, I'm just not happy that we're seeing a lot of help there. I mean, I'm just getting frustrated on some of this stuff, trying to get things done. You can't get anything done. All they want to talk about is theory, and you know, at some point we've got to make this work. Because the original thing for this facilities committee was for long range, the comprehensive plan, or the capital improvement plan and all that, that we would give the finance committee our recommendations or our data that they could take it and make their job easier. We're not giving them nothing. When did we ever give them anything, Bud?
No.
There you go. And sooner or later, we got to bring this back under control, guys. I mean, we're losing the ball game here. That's my opinion anyway, so. That's just my opinion. So that's all I have. And then the final two I have, you heard the Pell tonight. MPO, we didn't meet last month. We met the month before, and I reported on that one. So, and I did bring up that Route 45 starts to need to get on the tip. So we need to look at safety improvements if they're not going to do anything with it. So that's where I'm at. Okay. Next, Parks Capital.
Guess what? Parks Capital Committee did not meet.
Okay, keep going. You got Parks Governance.
Parks Governance Committee had a 3-hour retreat, and the consensus was that we got more done in that 3 hours than in the past 18 months.
I can believe that.
Based upon, and everybody was not in agreement, but agreeable.
Minus one person.
So it was, I think we made some progress.
Was it on site or outside? Or?
It was at the library's meeting room.
Good.
But yeah, so we played some of those silly games you play when you get a facilitator in there, but we made progress. The Park Authority. Park Authority met and toured the Whitehall Road Regional Park. It is close to finish.
Dang.
It should be wrapped up by the end of this month. Will be the final walkthroughs and close out the contracts. Looks to me like there will be some money left over in the budget.
Good.
Not a lot.
Good.
There's nothing left to do that's likely to, you never know, but things that are left are like pour some concrete, pave some roads, things that there shouldn't be any real surprises from.
What was your impression of it?
That park, it's beautiful. The vistas are wonderful. There's more opportunities to do things, more benches and shade trees and things like that. But what's there is going to be functional. It's going to serve the community well. It's going to deliver the first stage of what we promised. The authority is starting to think about the future. Phase 2 for that park. Phase 2 for Oak Hall, and let's not forget
Phase 1 for Hatfield.
let's not forget Hatfield. Right.
Phase 1 for Hatfield.
Okay. But overall, it's looking good, and it's looking like we're gonna finish it up.
Did they still get the $2,000 trash can?
That gets complicated, but they might get them down to 1,800.
Did they ever talk to Waste Management?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. All right. Anything else you want to do on the?
Let's see. No, that's good.
Okay, Nigel, Public Safety.
Okay. We didn't meet in July. However, one of those rare events where we met before our meeting this month. So we did meet this month, and a couple things on the agenda. Doesn't really concern us, but maybe we could take advantage of it. A volunteer firefighter job analysis will be performed by Penn State Works Consulting, which is free. And Greg Levisky's in charge of this, and the idea is to get real job descriptions for firefighters that might end up being morphed into professional firefighters. So it's sort of just getting ready for that possibility. And the other thing, Walt Snyder sort of wanted to bounce the problem off the code committee or the public safety committee. They're having trouble purchasing vehicles. They can't get them right now. They're so rare, you know, there's so few. The dealers don't want to sell them to government entities because they just get it. Actually, it's farther up than that. It goes right up to the top of the company. So, you know, Ford is not coming up with the little plug-in escapes that the code office really likes. So they wanted to, you know, they can get police vehicles, police-equipped vehicles. They'll be more expensive and more expensive to operate, but basically they got to do something because they're wearing their vehicles out. And interestingly, I don't know what kind of arrangement this is, but I noticed behind the high school auto shop that there's a bunch of old code vehicles lined up.
We gave them to them.
Did we actually give them?
Yeah.
We gave them to
Yeah, I think
the
so.
school. Okay. All right.
Tell them to take better care of them. They're going to have to last longer.
Yeah, well, they're doing everything they can, but you know, they can't just get any regular sedans for building codes because it's not actually all-wheel drive that matters, it's ground clearance. And apparently the escapes seem to be perfect, even though they're front-wheel drive escapes, the plug-ins.
Co-Stars?
Yeah, the Co-Stars.
You can't deal with Co-Stars?
Well, they're not coming up with anything. They canceled the orders. So,
When the customers are waiting 6 months to 10 months for cars, you know, you're out in a lot of ways. It's very difficult. And the production lines aren't going to making the basic models for the white ones. So, yeah. By the way, do you have an announcement for us? I know we all got that email.
Fire director.
Our new fire director.
Yes, we do have a new fire director.
And that would be?
That would be Sean Kaufman.
Good.
I
Very
don't know
good.
what we're going to do about emergency management now, but
Well,
that's...
from what I heard from Sean, and I talked to him when he was running, he said that his second guy he had him groomed pretty good, but I think they're probably going to go look for somebody. I don't know what they're going to do, but I think they're prepared for it, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yes, that announcement came during the meeting.
Yeah.
There's a long search process.
Yeah. I mean, Sean's obviously top notch. You know, he breezed through all the testing.
Okay, how about human resources?
Okay, well, a couple things we did in human resources. We approved a budget for the Employee Relations Committee, which is $9,750 for this coming year, and a wellness budget, which is $9,810, and that's pretty consistent year to year, ups and downs a little bit depending on the awards and that people are getting. And we got 3 25-year awards coming up and 1 30-year award coming up for 2024 in the COGS. That's pretty good. And then with the departure of the manager of philanthropy at SCLO Library, I decided to kind of tweak the position and change it a little bit, and so we had a new job description, and they're changing the thing to Head of Advancement Services. So it's going to incorporate a little more, I guess, and anyway, we approved that job description also, and that was it.
Okay. All right, land use and community infrastructure.
Good. I'm going to call upon my friend, Mr. Bokel. We did a review model of the EV charging station, presentation he did. Very well done. Any highlights you want to tell us about? It's really a good presentation.
Ben Dworsky, the intern.
Good presentation.
At the COG. So it's just a model ordinance for how municipalities can incorporate EV charging infrastructure into your subdivision ordinance.
Everything you asked about EV charging stations is in there.
Is that something
I'd like to get that.
Yeah, can we go
I don't
get a
have
copy of that?
Can you?
Yeah, I can get you.
Oh, okay.
No problem.
Yeah, they came out of planning, so, okay. Second thing is,
Hold on, Danny. Did we on the charging station thing, did you get us hooked up with the borough?
Yes, and they're
That's
going
going
to
fine?
bid next year.
Okay.
We then talked about the regional growth boundary sewer service area. And interestingly, if you read the CDT today, there was in the legal announcement a notice of this being voted on at the general forum. So the amendments to what we're talking about are moving forward. And then again, Mr. Bokel blessed us with a good discussion on the census data and all of the good number crunching that that's been done. And Harris Township came up in the last 10 years the fastest growing, 21.1%.
By percentage growth, yes,
Yeah.
fastest growth.
So good presentation, Mark.
I'll be giving it at general form as well later this
okay.
month, so you'll get to hear it again.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Solar power purchase is meeting on the 26th. Finally, we haven't met for 3 months or 4 months.
I
So
was gonna ask that, weren't we supposed to like sign this thing in April?
the lawyers are still playing with the wording on it. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
that's it.
Bud, you're up with finance.
Well, first off, as a finance guy, I did ask several months ago about the janitorial maintenance thing, and I was told there wasn't enough time to generate that information. That was 3 or 4 months ago. So hopefully when the new budget comes out, we can interpolate how much is spent on each individual agency to find out how much we spend on that. I think my guess is we'll be better off hiring our own internal.
I don't know that.
I don't know either.
We'll see the
Okay.
numbers.
Our finance committee met, I don't know what day it was last week, and we went through I can state, I left at the end of any action items. They discussed the policy purchasing, but there was no action on this. But the action item that was there was the study of, and I'm going to go over this a little bit in detail because it's going to come up at the executive meeting. You're going to be asked about it, and it's going to be discussed at the general forum. They presented 4 scenarios that we could do this. We have 30. I'll get these numbers wrong. We have a number of people that are well, might as well just say underpaid, undercompensated. I think maybe out of all of our employees, a third, I guess, something in that area are underpaid. I didn't take time to look at it at the time, but I forget what the number was exactly.
69.
So they came up with 4 scenarios of how we would bring them up to their allotted money. There's going to be 6 levels of pay grade, 1 through 14 to be 6 levels altogether. One through 4, I believe, 1 through 3, 4 to 6, something like that. So they're going to bring that up to. There's 4 scenarios. 1 scenario is do nothing. 2 was a combination of something. 3 and 4 were the popular ones. The 4th scenario was the one which you'll get a copy of it. I'm not going to go over with you right now. But the 4th scenario was bringing about 50% one time, 50% another time. Now, the vote was 2 against these 4 scenarios. 1 was in favor of 0, and that was the jump from Half Moon Township would do nothing. I voted against number 4 because I came up with an idea of number 4 modified. So I met with Eric and Becca, and they're going to present a modified 4 because I think it's important, simply not getting into a lot of theoretical, it's important that the 1 through 4 brackets are the lowest paid, and they're the ones that are hit with the most problem of having meet with inflation, being able to deal with inflation more than the 6 through 14, and so we do them all at one time, and that would do 2 things. It would help the recruitment because most of those are seasonal workers, that we need to get. They're going to have a tough time getting without bringing them up to pay grade. So Becca is going to provide. I think you're going to see it at the executive meeting, a number 4 modified scenario that we pay the first lowest ones, which is I think 14, you'll find the numbers. I went through so many numbers with her, it's confusing. I think maybe 14 or 15 of them will be brought up to pay grade right away, which are the lower numbers. Some of them maybe $800, some maybe $1,500, maybe a few $1,000, but she's gonna work those numbers, so, that's one I suggested, and then I think it will fly. It's, in the long run, it'll be the same amount of money, we'll pay a little more the first year, but it will even out, this whole scenario was over 3 years. So it will even out in the same amount of money in the end. It's just, I think we should take the lower paid people, pay them right away, get them up to snuff, then phase the rest of them in.
Well, the one thing I would like to see in this, because I asked the question, because I brought that up about the get smaller, the lower end, and I said, and specifically lifeguards. I said, everybody in the world's having trouble getting lifeguards.
Well, that's
and
the
we're
other
gonna have
issue.
to make sure, well, Jim Carpenter and them said, no, the lifeguards aren't in that study. They have them under their operating budget. They aren't like employees that are here. And I said, oh, really? So that kind of confused me. So I think, you know, we're hearing a lot of different things. I'd like some clarity. Who are we actually talking about here? If those young people and that seasonal work isn't in this study, then who is?
The library pages are in there. So there's some seasonal work in there. If you want to take time to look at you'll get a copy of it from the general forum, I'm sure. If the executive feels.
We've already looked at it once, and we had a lot of discussion.
But what you should do is look at a couple of these. Yes, retention is important, but as much as retention, the lower brackets are the ones that the inflation or whatever you want to call it right now is hitting them bad. So she's going to do that, and I certainly would push that. It would mean a few more bucks. I don't know what she might have said. I don't know. She was just going through maybe 10,000 more initially, but with plus salary plus all the benefits are 16%. So you'll see that hopefully. I talked to her on Friday, and I'm sure that they weren't ready to get the numbers, but I'd like to see that, and I'd like to see us support that. I don't know what the Half Moon's reason was for saying nothing, than the fact that he is new to the committee, I guess, and as he said, he's not sure what his rule should be there. Should he say no to everything or what? I'm sure that he will come and look at it and evaluate it and come up with a reasonable answer on that one, so.
All right, do you want to do climate action?
And, let's see, yeah. Well, climate action meets tomorrow morning. Our agenda is very simple. No action items, just a few discussion items. We're still going to get ready for the 2025 or 2026 contract renewal. A lot of questions on that, so. And then as soon as we find out something important, I'll forward it to you as far as that contract goes. Nothing's coming up yet.
Okay. Well, you guys still got the Heritage Museum.
They are going to have a Oktoberfest. Keep that open. I'm not sure the date, but it's coming up.
Okay, anything else? Okay, anything for good of the order?
Peter, I was going to ask you, do you have any thoughts or comments on the Dwight Miller financial?
No, that's a good arrangement.
We're doing pretty well on the real estate
Yeah.
93%.
Well, there's a lot of stuff we haven't done, a
We're,
lot of capital stuff. So.
We're low on the real estate transfer,
Oh, yeah, well, that's so unpredictable.
Yeah.
We don't have anything for sale. We don't have anything for sale.
Yeah, but, otherwise the numbers look pretty good.
Yeah.
But you
Thank you.
gotta sign this.
I should ask Nigel a question. Did you discuss this property management thing at your committee meeting at all?
Property
The
management.
property management that we talked about 2 months ago, we voted to accept it with modifications. Bill von Burr turned it down completely.
No,
They read it. Apparently the borough didn't read it because they passed it. So I just wanted for you to discuss that because I believe it's heading code in the wrong direction as far as what their purview should be.
Oh, you're talking about the
rental housing maintenance.
Yeah.
And it said we passed it, but it didn't mention we passed it with the modifications.
Right.
Jason.
Frank,
Yes.
The board will not need to sign ordinance 361. I'll have to revise it.
Oh, okay. The full
You'll have to come in and sign it.
Let's see, we need, one more here. Sign
But I need to
that's
fill that out and
362.
sign that. Where the
We need-
yellow
hey,
is at.
Jenny, we
Bring
need to sign
361
this
back
one,
to
too.
me. Okay.
I don't know where 361 is, probably already here. Is that it?
I move that we adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn, so moved. We're adjourned.
Okay.
We have to vote.